The invitation I shouldn't have accepted. It all started with an envelope. I remember the way it looked sitting on my doorstep that morning, plain yellowed, almost ancient, with my name written across it in a shaky black ink. No return address, no stamp, just my name. First I thought it was some kind of prank. None of my friends were the type to write letters, let alone slip one under my door in the middle of the night. But when I picked it up, a cold chill crept up my spine, and for a second, I thought I felt the paper move in my hand, like it was alive. I almost threw it away right there, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. The letter inside was short, written in the same shaky handwriting. You are invited. Midnight. Old Hollow House. Come alone. That was it. No explanation, no signature. Just those words. I laughed nervously to myself. Old Hollow House. That place had been abandoned for decades. Everyone in town had a story about it. Some said a family was murdered there and their screams could still be heard on certain nights. Others whispered about strange lights in the windows or shadows that moved even when no one was inside. Personally, I'd never believed in ghosts, or at least I thought I didn't. But still, why me? I tucked the letter into my jacket pocket, trying to shake off the unease. All day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Who sent it? Why midnight? Why alone? By the time night fell, my curiosity had become unbearable. A normal person would have ignored it, burned the letter, locked their doors, and gone to sleep. But I'm not normal. I told myself I was just going to check it out, just to prove to myself there was nothing there. So at 11:45 p.m., I found myself walking down the cracked, overgrown path that led to Old Hollow House. The air was colder than it should have been. Each step I took echoed in the silence of the night, and the trees on either side of the path leaned in like they were watching me. The house finally came into view. Its windows shattered, its wooden siding warped and peeling, the roof caving in at the corners. Even from a distance, it looked hungry, like it had been waiting for someone foolish enough to walk through its doors. I stopped at the gate. It was rusted, half hanging off its hinges. My instinct screamed at me to turn around, to go home, to pretend the letter never arrived. But when I reached into my pocket and felt the paper, it was warm against my fingertips, almost pulsing. That was impossible. I pushed the gate open. I groaned like something waking from a deep sleep. The front steps creaked under my weight as I climbed them. The door, to my surprise, wasn't locked. It swung open before I even touched it, as though it had been waiting for me. Inside, the air was thick with dust and rot. The floor was littered with broken glass, crumbling plaster, and pieces of furniture covered in sheets. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, landing on faded wallpaper that peeled away like dead skin. That's when I heard it, the faint sound of whispering. I froze. The house was empty. It had to be empty. And yet, the sound drifted through the hallway, soft at first, then sharper, like voices fighting to be heard. I told myself it was just the wind, but the more I listened, the more I realized the whispers were saying something. They were saying my name. Should have run. I should have left right then. But I didn't. Instead, I stepped deeper into the house, the floor groaning beneath me, my heart pounding in my chest. Every instinct screamed at me to turn back, but there was something pulling me forward, something that made it impossible to stop. I don't know if it was curiosity or something else. All I know is, from the moment I crossed that threshold, I wasn't alone anymore. The road that seemed endless when I left Old Hollow House that night, I thought I was heading home. At least that's what I told myself as I stepped back through the broken doorway and onto the front porch. The whispers had stopped the moment I turned toward the exit, like they were satisfied with something. The air outside was damp and heavy, and for a moment I felt relief, like I had escaped something I couldn't explain. But that relief didn't last. The path back home didn't look the same. I remembered clearly the broken gate, the narrow dirt trail winding through the trees, the cracked asphalt road at the end. I had walked it just minutes ago. But now, as I looked around, it was as if the entire forest had shifted. The trees seemed thicker, the shadows longer. And when I looked back at the house, it wasn't there. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and looked again. Nothing. The house I had just walked out of, the one I had stepped inside moments before, was gone. In its place was just more trees, tangled and endless, stretching into blackness. My throat went dry. I started walking fast, my flashlight bouncing wildly with each step. The dirt path stretched out in front of me, but the more I walked, the more it seemed to repeat itself. The same gnarled tree with its twisted branches, the same rotting log lying across the side, the same rocks scattered in the dirt. I quickened my pace, then broke into a jog, then into a run. No matter how far I went, the trail never changed. I stopped, panting, trying to catch my breath. My chest burned, my legs trembled, and sweat dripped down my face despite the chill in the air. I spun around, expecting to see the glow of the house in the distance, but there was nothing. Just the same endless road, stretching both behind and ahead of me, swallowing everything. That's when I heard it again, the whispers. This time, they weren't coming from inside the house, or coming from the trees. I shined my flashlight toward the sound, but the beam barely penetrated the thick darkness between the trunks. Still, I could hear them. Low, murmuring voices overlapping one another, like a dozen people whispering secrets at once. My name was mixed in there, faint but clear, rising above the noise. I stumbled backward, clutching the flashlight like a weapon. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice cracking. The whispers stopped. Silence pressed in on me like a heavy weight. Even the wind had gone still. I stood there, frozen, straining to hear anything. A bird, a rustle, the crunch of leaves. Nothing. Just my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then, from somewhere ahead of me, I saw it. A flicker of light. It was faint, like the glow of a lantern or candle. For the first time since stepping into that nightmare, I felt a small rush of hope. Maybe it was someone else. Maybe I wasn't alone out here. Maybe there was a way out. I started walking toward the light. My footsteps echoed strangely on the dirt, louder than they should have been. Each step felt heavier, slower, like the road itself was pulling me down. Still, the light stayed ahead, always just out of reach. The faster I walked, the farther away it seemed, and it's turned into what felt like hours. My legs ached, my throat was dry, and the glow ahead never got closer. It was like I was stuck in place, like the road was looping, repeating itself over and over again. I stopped once more, gasping, trying to understand what was happening. And that's when I realized something that made my blood run cold. The light wasn't leading me forward, it was following me. I turned slowly, and sure enough, the glow shifted too, staying just beyond the edge of my vision. Never closer, never farther, always watching. The forest around me creaked, as though the trees themselves were breathing. The whispers began again, louder this time, echoing from every direction. I clamped my hands over my ears, but it didn't matter. The voices weren't outside anymore. They were inside my head. "Keep walking," they hissed. "Don't look back, keep walking." And I did. Because by then, I understood something terrible. The road wasn't endless by accident, it wanted me on it. It wasn't going to let me leave. Whispers inside the walls. I don't know how long I kept walking. Time lost all meaning on that road.
Hours.
Minutes stretched into hours. Hours into something that felt like days. The whispers never stopped, and the faint glow never let me out of its sight. At some point, my legs gave out. I dropped to my knees, the dirt grinding into my palms. "Please," I whispered, though I didn't know who I was begging. "Please, just let me out." The voices answered, not out loud, not in the air, but inside my skull. Clear, sharp, unmistakable. "You're already inside." I froze. Inside. Inside. What? The forest? The road? The house? I lifted my head, and my breath caught in my throat. The trees around me weren't trees anymore. They were walls. Peeling wallpaper stretched upward, covered in mold and cracks. The dirt beneath my knees shifted into rotting wooden planks. The road I had been walking on was no road at all. It was a hallway. A long, narrow hallway that seemed to stretch forever in both directions, and the whispers. They weren't drifting from the forest. They were leaking through the walls. I scrambled to my feet, my flashlight beam bouncing across the decayed interior. Old picture frames hung crookedly, their glass shattered, their images warped by water damage and time. A moldy carpet ran down the length of the hall, curling at the edges like it was trying to peel itself away. But the worst part? Every few feet I could see impressions bulging out of the wallpaper. Shapes, faces, their features twisted, mouths open as if frozen mid-scream, pressed into the walls themselves. Their eyes seemed to follow me, hollow and black. I staggered backward, my heart pounding so hard I thought my chest might explode. "This isn't real," I whispered. "This can't be real." The walls pulsed in response, as if the entire house was breathing. And then the voices started again. Louder this time, more desperate. They weren't whispering anymore. They were crying, wailing, begging. "Let us out. Let us out. Let us out." I stumbled down the hallway, my footsteps echoing unnaturally. Every door I passed was sealed shut, the wood splintered, the handles rusted. I tried one, then another, but none of them would open. The more I tried, the louder the voices grew. At last, I stopped in front of one door that looked different. It's unlike the others. It wasn't swollen with decay or nailed shut. It was clean. It's almost new. The wood gleamed as though freshly polished. And instead of a rusted knob, it had a brass handle that shone even in the darkness. Something about it drew me in. My hand trembled as I reached for the handle. The moment my fingers brushed against the metal, every whisper in the walls stopped. Silence. The sudden quiet was worse than the noise. My own breath sounded deafening in my ears. I gripped the handle tighter and turned. The door clicked open without resistance. I pushed it slowly, my flashlight beam spilling into the room beyond. It was a bedroom. At least it looked like one. The bed was neatly made, the sheets crisp and white, though a fine layer of dust covered them. The wardrobe stood against the wall, its mirror cracked down the center. A small desk sat in the corner, a single candle burning on top of it, its flame flickering, even though there was no wind. I stepped inside cautiously. The air was heavy, colder than the hallway, thick with the scent of mildew. I turned in a slow circle, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Then I froze. On the bed lay another envelope, identical to the one I'd found on my doorstep. My stomach twisted. I already knew what it would say before I even opened it, but my hands moved on their own, tearing the paper, pulling out the folded sheet inside. The handwriting was the same, shaky, uneven, black ink. But this time the message was longer. "You're where you belong. Do not try to leave. The house knows you now. It will not let you go." I dropped the letter as the whispers began again, rising in a deafening chorus. This time, I could make out their words clearly. "Join us. Join us. Join us." And as I turned toward the cracked mirror on the wardrobe, I saw something that made my blood run cold. My reflection wasn't moving with me. It was smiling. The face in the mirror, I couldn't breathe. The cracked wardrobe mirror stared back at me, but the reflection wasn't mine. Its grin stretched too wide, jagged and unnatural, while my own lips trembled in silent horror. My eyes were darker than pitch, two bottomless wells that swallowed the light. I stumbled backward, flashlight quivering in my hand. "No, this isn't real," I whispered, but the reflection moved, not with me, against me. When I stepped back, it leaned forward. The grin widened as it pressed a pale hand against the glass. The mirror rippled, like water. My breath caught. The flashlight clattered to the floor, its beams spinning across the walls. My body wouldn't move. It was as if the house itself was holding me still. The thing tilted its head and spoke in my voice, only stretched, layered with something inhuman. "You don't belong out there." My mouth went dry. "What do you mean?" Its grin sharpened. "Teeth too many, too long. You belong in here." The mirror pulsed again. Spiderweb cracks shot outward as the reflection pressed harder. Desperate, I snatched up the flashlight and shone it at the glass. For a fleeting moment, my real face flickered back, and the whispers began. "Join us. Join us." The mirror exploded. Shards rained onto the floor, but the figure did not fall with them. It climbed out, tearing itself free from the shattered frame. Its limbs bent at impossible angles, yet its face never stopped smiling. I stumbled into the corner, chest heaving. "Stay away from me," I screamed, swinging the flashlight like a weapon. It flickered. Not walking, not running, but blinking through the air until it stood inches from me. I felt its cold breath brush my ear as it whispered, "You're already mine." I shoved it with every ounce of strength and bolted. The door slammed shut behind me with a force that shook the walls. Whispers chased me down the hallway. Every door I passed rattled violently, as though something inside was trying to claw its way out. The hallway twisted, stretched, bent in directions that defied reason. My lungs burned, but I kept running. Every time I glanced back, that smiling face flickered in the shadows, always just behind me. At last, the corridor spat me into a circular chamber. I froze. The walls were lined with mirrors, dozens, maybe hundreds, and in every single one, my reflection grinned. Some pressed their hands against the glass. Some scratched deep lines into the surface. Others simply waited, black-eyed and sharp-toothed, their laughter echoing in a jagged chorus that wasn't mine. I collapsed to my knees in the center of the room. The reflections spoke in perfect unison. "You can't escape yourself." The lights flickered, glass rattled, and I understood with sickening clarity. The house didn't just want me trapped, it wanted to replace me. When the lights went out, the mirrors rattled all around me, their glass vibrating like they were about to burst. The grinning reflections pressed harder against the surface, their fingers scraping, their teeth clattering, her black eyes locked on me. My flashlight beam, the only thing keeping the room from drowning in shadows, flickered weakly as though it too was afraid. Then, without warning, the light went out. Complete, suffocating darkness swallowed me. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. I slapped the flashlight, shook it, prayed for it to come back on, but it was dead. The only sound was the creaking of the floorboards beneath me and the faint scratching nails against glass. Then came the laughter, soft at first, from one direction, then another, then everywhere at once. My own voice, multiplied 100 times, echoing from every mirror in the room. Some versions of me laughed like children, some with guttural growls, some with a shriek that pierced the air and made my ears ring. I clamped my hands over my ears, but it didn't matter. The sound wasn't just around me, it was inside me. Yeah, my chest vibrated with it, my bones rattled. And then, amidst the laughter, one voice cut through, sharper than the rest. "You can't hide in the dark." I staggered backward, tripping over broken glass on the floor. My hands tore open as I caught myself, warm blood dripping onto the wood. Somewhere in front of me, a mirror cracked loudly, followed by another, then another. I couldn't see them, but I could feel them breaking. The air shifted with every shatter, colder, heavier, pressing against me. And then footsteps. Slow, heavy, approaching. "Stay away," I whispered, though my voice shook so badly it sounded like a plea. The footsteps stopped. Silence stretched out so long I thought maybe I had imagined it. My chest tightened, and I forced myself to move, crawling blindly across the floor, my palms leaving streaks of blood behind me. My fingers brushed the wall, rough with peeling wallpaper. I followed it, dragging myself along, desperate to find a door, a window, anything, then click. A single candle flared to life in the middle of the room. Its weak flame illuminated only a small circle, but it was enough to see that I wasn't alone. Something stood just beyond the light, tall and hunched, its face hidden in shadow. But I knew it was watching me. I could feel its gaze burning into me like hot needles. The candle flame wavered as though it was breathing. I forced myself to my feet, swaying, clutching the wall for balance. "What do you want from me?" I demanded, though my voice cracked under the weight of terror. The figure stepped closer, just enough for me to see. It was me, not smiling this time, not grinning with sharp teeth, just staring, eyes hollow, face pale, expressionless. But somehow that was worse. My throat closed, my legs buckled. Oh no, this isn't real. The other me tilted its head slowly, and in a flat, lifeless tone, it whispered, "You're already dead. You just haven't realized it yet." The candle flickered violently, sputtering as if about to go out. Panic surged through me. I lunged for it, cupping my hands around the fragile flame like it was my only lifeline. And that's when I felt it. A hand closing around my wrist, cold, ice cold, strong. I screamed and ripped my arm free, stumbling backward. Ah! The candle tipped over and went out. Darkness returned, thicker than before, pressing against my skin like a living thing. Then, the voices came back. Not whispers this time, not laughter. Screams. Terrified. Agonized screams echoing from every direction. Men, women, children, all crying out at once, as though the walls themselves were filled with people being torn apart. I clutched my head, shaking, my own voice joining theirs in a raw, desperate cry. And then silence. Sudden, absolute. I opened my eyes, though I couldn't see anything, and realized the air had changed. The floor beneath me wasn't wood anymore. It was soft. The smell hit me next. Rot, decay, earth. I wasn't in the mirror room anymore. I was lying on the ground, in the dark, surrounded by dirt. A hand brushed against something cold, something smooth. A bone. The thing that followed me, my fingers recoiled the moment they touched it, but the cold, smooth curve of the bone was undeniable. I scrambled back in the dirt, heart hammering in my chest, but my hands kept brushing against more of them. A rib, a skull, femur. They were everywhere, scattered, piled half-buried in the soil around me. I was in some kind of pit. The air was damp and foul, the walls closed and uneven, like the inside of a grave. My flashlight was gone, the candle gone, but somehow I could still see. A faint gray light seeped in from nowhere. Just enough to reveal the horror surrounding me. Bones. Hundreds of them. Some old and brittle, some fresh, their flesh still clinging, their eye sockets staring. And all of them had one thing in common. Their mouths were open, like they had all died screaming. I gagged, bile rising in my throat. I clawed at the walls of the pit, the dirt crumbling beneath my nails. I had to get out. I had to. My hands bled, my fingers tore, but the soil gave way faster than I could climb. Each time I tried to pull myself higher, I slid back down, landing among the bones that seemed to shift and rattle beneath me. Then I heard it, breathing, slow, heavy, not mine. I froze, my back pressed to the wall. The sound came from above, from the edge of the pit. Something was standing there, watching. "Who's there?" I croaked, though my voice was barely a whisper. The breathing grew louder, closer, and then a shadow stretched down the wall, long and misshapen, its limbs bending wrong. Its head too large, its fingers stretching into claws. My chest tightened, my skin crawling. The thing leaned over the edge. I couldn't see its face, only its outline against the faint gray light. But I felt its eyes on me, burning, piercing, pinning me in place. Then it moved, slowly, deliberately. It started climbing down into the pit. I panicked, grabbing a bone from the ground. I didn't even know what it was, maybe an arm, maybe a leg, and held it out like a weapon. "Stay back," I screamed, though my voice cracked with fear. The thing didn't stop. Its long arms hooked into the dirt, pulling its body downward in jerky, unnatural movements. Its claws scraped against the walls, leaving deep gouges. With each shift, the bones beneath me rattled like they were laughing. Closer, closer. I swung the bone wildly, hitting nothing but air. The thing was almost at the bottom now. I could see more of it. Its skin gray and stretched thin, its body too long, its head tilted at an angle no human head should bend. Still it breathed, deep, hungry. My back hit the far wall. There was nowhere left to go. The thing reached the floor of the pit. It stood upright, towering over me, its limbs brushing the dirt walls on either side. Slowly, it leaned forward, its face finally slipping into the faint light. It was me, or what was left of me. Skin sagging, eyes hollow, mouth stretched unnaturally wide. A corpse version of myself, half-rotted, its grin dripping with black sludge. I screamed and hurled the bone at it. The bone shattered harmlessly against its chest, and the thing didn't even flinch. It just kept smiling. Then it moved. Not fast, not slow, just inevitable. I scrambled to the side, slipping on the loose bones, but its clawed hand shot out and grazed my arm. Fire tore through my skin, and I looked down to see long black marks burned into my flesh, spreading like veins of ink. My scream echoed off the dirt walls, joining the silent screams of the skeletons around me. I lunged upward again, clawing at the wall with everything I had. Dirt filled my nails, blood smeared my hands, but this time something gave. My fingers caught on a root jutting from the soil, pulled, my muscles screaming, dragging myself higher. The thing lunged after me, its claws snapping inches from my foot. I kicked, dirt raining down, bones tumbling with me. Somehow impossibly, I pulled myself over the edge. I collapsed onto the ground above, gasping, sobbing, clutching my burning arm. The pit below was silent. I staggered to my feet, dizzy, disoriented. The forest stretched out again. Or maybe it was a hallway, or maybe something else entirely. My vision blurred, my thoughts tangled. But one thing was clear. The thing wasn't gone. It was following me. And no matter where I went, no matter how far I ran, I could still hear it breathing. Escape that wasn't real. I don't remember how long I ran. The forest stretched endlessly in every direction, trees twisting into grotesque shapes, shadows darting between them. Oh, my lungs burned, my legs trembled, but I didn't stop. Behind me, I could still hear it, that heavy, ragged breathing, never rushing, never faltering, just steady, patient, always close. It wasn't chasing me, it was hurting me. The thought made my stomach twist, but it was true. No matter which direction I turned, I always ended up back on the same path, the same dirt crunching under my shoes, the same crooked tree with its branches like skeletal arms. The forest wasn't a forest, it was a cage. And yet after what felt like hours, something changed. A light. Faint at first, barely more than a glow between the trees. But the moment I saw it, hope surged in my chest. It wasn't like the cold, shifting glow I'd seen before. It was warm, golden, like sunlight. I stumbled toward it, branches clawing at my clothes, roots snagging my ankles. My heart pounded harder with every step, not just from fear this time, but from desperate belief. Maybe I had found a way out. Maybe the nightmare had an end. The trees parted, and I collapsed onto cracked asphalt. A road, real road. I gasped, crawling forward, my palms scraping against the rough surface. When I looked up, I saw it. Streetlights lining the road, glowing faintly, and in the distance houses. Real houses, their windows warm with light, smoke curling from chimneys. Civilization. I laughed. A broken, half-hysterical sound, and forced myself to my feet. I made it, I whispered. Oh God, I made it. I ran, faster than I thought I could. The houses grew closer, the lights brighter, the smell of wood smoke and food drifting through the air. I could almost hear voices, laughter, the sound of people, normal life. My legs gave out as I reached the first house. I stumbled up the steps, pounding on the door with bleeding fists. Help me, please. Somebody help me. The door creaked open. Relief flooded me, until I saw who stood there. It was me. Not the rotting corpse version, not the grinning reflection. Just me, whole, alive. Standing in the doorway of the house, like I belonged there. My breath caught in my throat. I staggered back. What is this? The other me tilted his head, calm, expressionless. Then he smiled, not wide, not monstrous, just a normal smile, the kind I'd seen on my own face in pictures and mirrors. You made it home, he said. His voice was warm, reassuring. Come inside. It's over now. For a moment, a terrible, weak moment. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to step through that door, to collapse into warmth and safety and let this nightmare end. My body ached, my arm throbbed, where the black marks still spread. My mind was unraveling. But then I heard it, the breathing. Behind me, slow, heavy, patient. I spun around the forest at my back, the shadows shifting, the thing still out there. I turned back to the house, desperate, but something had changed. The lights in the windows flickered, the warmth dimmed, and in the reflection of the glass panes I saw them, the grinning faces, dozens of them, all staring at me from inside the house. My other self reached out a hand. It's okay, he whispered. It's where you belong. I shook my head, backing away. My vision blurred, tears stinging my eyes. No, this isn't real. His smile widened just slightly. It's the only real thing. The door slammed shut. The houses around me vanished. Streetlights blinked out one by one, leaving me in darkness again. When the last light died, I was back in the hallway. The same peeling wallpaper, The same endless doors. The sound of breathing filled the air, closer now, louder, almost on top of me. I pressed my back against the wall, sliding down, my body trembling. My escape had been nothing but a trick, cruel illusion. The house wasn't letting me go. It never would. The truth I can never tell. The hallway stretched before me again, endless and suffocating. The whispers had stopped, but the silence was worse. Heavy, watchful. My arm burned where the black veins had spread, crawling higher toward my shoulder. Each throb made me weaker, slower, like the house was draining me, piece by piece. I forced myself to move, staggering past door after door. Each one rattled as I passed, as though something inside wanted out. I didn't dare open them, not again. Then I saw it. At the end of the hallway, a single door stood open. Light spilled from it, not golden this time, not warm, but cold, white, sterile. It didn't feel like safety. It felt like the end. Still, I had no choice. I stepped inside. The room was bare. White walls, white floor, white ceiling. In the center stood a single chair facing away from me. My legs trembled as I approached. I don't know why, but I knew that someone was waiting. When I reached it, the chair slowly turned, and I saw myself, not the rotting corpse, not the grinning reflection, not the expressionless double. Just me, exactly me, meeting my gaze with hollow eyes. "You shouldn't have come here," he whispered. I staggered back. "What are you? What is this place?" He smiled faintly. "Not cruel, not monstrous, just sad. It's you. It's always been you. You've brought yourself here. The house didn't choose you. You chose it." My chest tightened. Memories flickered. Nights of loneliness. Whispers of curiosity. The letter on my doorstep. I thought I hadn't asked for this. But deep down, hadn't I? I'd gone to the house willingly. I'd opened the door. I'd stepped inside. The other me leaned forward, his eyes black pits. "And now you can never leave. Because if you leave, who stays behind?" The walls pulsed. The floor shuddered. My reflection began peeling away, his skin dissolving into shadow, his grin stretching wider and wider. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. My body felt heavy, sinking, merging with the walls themselves. The whispers returned, a chorus of voices, hundreds, thousands, all speaking in unison. "Welcome home." I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came, because I wasn't me anymore. I was part of the house. And if anyone ever finds Old Hollow House, if anyone ever steps through its door the way I did, they'll hear the whispers too. They'll hear me calling their name. And maybe, just maybe, they'll accept the invitation I can never tell them to refuse. And that was the story of Horror Story. A tale of curiosity, fear, and a house that doesn't just haunt, it claims. Remember, not all doors are meant to be opened, and sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones that look exactly like us. If you enjoyed this story and want more spine-chilling nightmares, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next horror tale. And tell me in the comments, would you have entered Old Hollow House at midnight? Sweet dreams, if you can sleep tonight.